So what did you lose by not investing in the international markets, especially the US? Have you lost a lot, little, or nothing? In this video, we will see that. In this video, I've covered the basic understanding of international funds. What is their performance, especially the US based funds, Euro based funds, and the Asian based funds? What is their performance in the last 1 year, 5 years, and 10 years? And that is compared with the Indian markets. Very interesting comparison. But the most interesting thing is, what do you benefit by investing in the international markets? What you have lost, what you will benefit by investing is the crux of this video, is the main part of this video. Watch till the end and understand how you can benefit and grow wealth. Hello, I'm Franky Fernandes. I'm the founder of Harmony in Money. It's a community, a unique community for young families between 30 and 40 years to help them grow their wealth and at the same time not sacrificing their relationship, where they both work together, grow their financial literacy, rewire their old habits, and cultivate new habits, and do it together. I'm a certified financial planner and I'm also a marriage coach. And it's my pleasure to share with you today's video. It's interesting analysis. Take time to understand this video to really create wealth and build wealth. So let's get into the video. So let's first begin with what is an international fund? What does international funds really mean? How different are they from domestic, that is local funds? Let's take a look. Let's look at the screen. So international funds, if you see the definition here, are investment funds that focus exclusively on companies and securities located outside the investor's home country, providing access to global markets. So for us who live in India, okay, this is primarily for Indian investors. If we live in India, we have our domestic, that is local funds, which are the large caps, the mid caps, small caps, is mutual funds, right? International funds are similar funds in other countries, USA, Europe, Asia, right? These are all the different countries. And how do we invest there? Is investing in a fund in India. Through an Indian fund, we get access to these foreign funds. That means our Indian fund managers will invest in directly into stocks there in the US, or into an ETF, or into another fund, which are called the feeder funds, right? So international funds are when you get access to the foreign markets. So now let's take a look at all the major types of international funds, right? We'll look at them one by one. Number one, these are the US focused. That means mostly the securities or the funds or ETFs are from US. All the US stocks. That means all these funds which you see here, Motilal Oswal, Nasdaq 100 FOF, that is fund of funds, and S&P 500 index fund. So these are all having exposure primarily in the US. So most big percentage is in the US. So these are all the funds, that is the third one is the Edelweiss US Technology Equity Fund. Obviously, you can make out that this is invested into funds which are technology funds in the US. Feed a fund directly into a US fund, ICICI Pru US Blue Chip Equity Fund, Nippon India US Equity Opportunities Fund. So some of them have invested directly into mutual funds or into stocks. What are the other types? Then there are Europe focused, obviously going by the name. So the exposure, if you invest in Invesco Pan European Equity Fund of Funds or Edelweiss Europe Dynamic Equity Fund, you get exposure to the Europe stock markets. That means the Europe companies, and Asia Pacific or company specific funds. So there are these funds, Nippon India, Taiwan Equity. If you invest in Nippon India, Taiwan Equity Fund, this money will be invested in Taiwan stock markets. And same with Nippon India, Japan Equity, Franklin Asian Equity, which means it could consist of a lot of Asian countries, HSBC, Axis Greater China, this only in China, Edelweiss Greater China, it's only in the Chinese markets. So these are the primarily the three big types. There are other types also I have not included here to keep it simple. So these are the broadly three international markets that we can invest from India. And you don't have to open any account outside, no brokerage accounts and all that. So I'm not covering here. So you can actually directly invest also. There are various other ways, but this video is focused only if you are investing in India through an Indian mutual fund. Now, let's take a look at their performance. Is it really worth the money that we invest here? Should we have invested in the last 5, 10 years? Let's take a look at the performance. So here we have the US focused funds. These are the funds, these four funds. And what are their returns? Some of these returns might even shock you. So in the last 1 year, see the return 40%, 28, 23, 17. That means if you had invested 1 lakh, you would have definitely got 17% returns. That means minimum 17,000. And if you had invested in Motilal Oswal Nasdaq, you would have got 40,000 in the last 1 year. And let me remind you, in the last 1 year, our markets, the indexes are negative. Funds have given a little bit extra. We'll see that a little later. Please hang on. But here, the international market, the US focus markets have given amazing returns. Let's take a look at the 3 year CAGR. Now, 3 year also, some amazing returns 37, 37%, 30, 22, 16, which means if you had invested 1 lakh rupees, you would have got minimum 1.6 lakh and maximum 2.6 lakh. And 5 year returns are also amazing 22, 23%, 5 year CAGR. That means every year 23%. And you've got 14.6%. So here we would have got around 2 lakh. If you had invested a lakh, this would have doubled 2 lakhs. And here, almost 3 lakhs. This is the kind of returns these funds have given. And 10 year CAGR, amazing returns. 18%, 14 to 16, 14 to 15%. So if in a 10 year, if you've got 14%, it means around 3.7 lakh. That means 1 lakh becoming almost 4 lakhs. Amazing, amazing performance. Now let's take a look at the international funds. Again, very good returns. The Edelweiss Europe Dynamic is 30% and Invesco Pan European is 27%. If you had seen the US funds have given 17 to 40%, and here around 25, 26 to 28%, almost the same. That means a lakh would have given you extra 30,000 rupees. Just imagine, compare that with an FD, would have got some 5,000, 6,000 rupees in a year. And same, the CAGR here, 3 year and 5 year, and very good returns. Above 20, above 20. This 12% is probably a little low compared to the US, but otherwise very good. Now let's take a look at the Asian funds. Nippon India has given 40%. Axis Greater China more than 20%. But the other Greater China less than 0%. And Franklin Asian Equity, that is ex-Japan, all the other countries in Asia, it is given 10 to 15%. Really good, very good returns. And 3 years CAGR is 38%. How much was the US? Almost matches Motilal Oswal. This is 28%. This is very low. And here it is around 13%. Not bad. And the 5 year CAGR, of course, these are not 5 years old funds, or so only here we get to see. So what do you think about these funds, the performance of these funds, the US based, European, and the Asian? Let me know in the comments. Did it make you feel that I wish I had invested? Let me know in the comments. What are your feelings? Do you have that FOMO that you missed? To an extent, I have. Not that I have not invested. I have invested in the international equity funds, but I feel probably I should have increased my exposure. And I'll tell you why. So now let's take a consolidated look. So here, if you see 1 year, the average returns are, of course, Asia, it is between 12 and 40% we have seen, but consistently you've got US and Europe who have given amazing returns. 3 years CAGR, if you see, yes, very good here. Here, probably the Nippon, Taiwan has given high, but otherwise it has been low. But here, decent numbers, very good. Uh, of course, a little low here. 10-year CAGR also is amazing. 14 to 18% is a very good number. Very good number. So of course here, because the tech stocks like Nvidia and other stocks which have done extremely well, uh, here there's a little bit of volatility. I think Taiwan is the only one who has done amazingly well. China has given low returns. So this is the consolidated performance. So now when you look at this, what comes to your mind? Of course, you might start thinking, I have not invested in the international funds. I have lost. Have you really, really lost? What you should compare these funds with? Obviously, you have to compare with our Indian equity funds. And that's what we will do right now. And you'll be a little surprised to see the numbers. Let's take a look. Let's look at the screen. Right? Let's compare the Indian funds with the international funds. The 1 year returns. Obviously, we have done very poorly in the last 1 year. Uh, India large cap, probably minus 1.6 to 2.3. Mid caps, minus 0.7. Highest is 1.2. Small cap plus zero point 0.2 to 2.8. That's it. Whereas we have seen here some amazing returns from the international funds, be it US focused, European focused, or Asian. They all have done well. But let's take a look at the 3 year performance. 3 year performance, we were looking at US focused. Yes, we have lagged here. The closest is mid cap, the lowest, but the highest is almost close to the US focus funds. But when you compare to the Europe focus funds, we are better off here, better off here, close here. Asian focus funds, yeah, we're almost there. So in the 3 year category, we've also done well. Let's take a 5 year CAGR. What is the difference? Now, in the 5 year category, India mid cap funds and India small cap funds are clearly the winners. If you see, lowest is 17, max is 30. Nowhere we see here as 30. So we have clearly beaten the international markets by a huge margin in that sense. So, in fact, 5 year CAGR, the large cap funds, obviously, in fact, the last 5 years, the large cap funds have given very good returns. These are roughly an average, but we also have funds which have given much more. So 5 year CAGR, Indian funds are the winners. And what about 10 year CAGR? Again, 10 year CAGR. We've given a tough fight. We are even, in fact, more. The good funds have given 21%, more than 20%, whereas the US and international focus funds haven't given that. So in 10 year category, again, we are the clear winners. The India mid cap and the small caps are winners, and the large caps are very close. Now, what do you think? Now, what do you think when you look at the international funds and the Indian mutual funds? Do you really think you have missed? If you have good exposure, a balanced exposure with large cap, mid cap, small caps, or flexi caps, which also have an exposure to mid and small cap, then you have done well, my friend. You're not behind the international markets. Last 1 year, we haven't done well. But where do we invest in equities for a year? We never invest in equities for a year. Now, in last 1 year, they may have given great returns. But if you look at last 3 and 5 years, we have actually given, in some ways, some funds we have given better returns. So now the question: what do you think? Should we really invest in international equity funds? Should we invest in international equity funds? Absolutely. A big, big yes. And I'll tell you why. And this is a very important part of this video. Hang on, because if you understand this, then you will create wealth. You will create wealth. And that's what we will look right now. And this is the term called diversification. And I know you may be thinking, oh, I know this, but you don't know. Especially when it comes to international funds and Indian funds. There is a certain dynamic which I'll talk about a little later. But let's read this definition. What is diversification? It's a risk management strategy. Remember, risk management that involves spreading investments across various asset classes, industries, geographic locations, and types of securities to reduce the overall risk of a portfolio. The goal is to limit exposure to any single asset or risk so that the positive performance of some investments can offset the negative performance of others. This approach helps to smooth out volatility and potentially yield higher long term returns by avoiding putting all eggs in one basket. And this is a very interesting slide, the next few slides. Hang on, listen, understand. You will definitely create wealth using international funds. So there's a very interesting relationship between Indian markets and the US and international markets. And to invest in the international markets, why we should invest in the international markets. This relationship will determine. This relationship will give us the clue to help us so that we can build wealth. And let's take a look at the screen. So here is that relationship, the correlation, and that's called the correlation. So before we understand correlation, let's take a look at the numbers here. The Indian US markets, the correlation coefficient is 0.53, 0.57, right? India, Europe is almost the same. Asian markets, it is much less, right? And emerging Asia, the average is around 0.22. And the developed markets, the global average is 0.15, zero point 0.6. What does it mean to us, those who will invest in the US markets or the international markets? So what we saw in the previous slide is that India and the international markets, there is a correlation of zero point 0.5. What if it were 1? So let's understand correlation before we move on to a very interesting discussion. So correlation coefficient is a statistical measure. Basically, there are two variables and it helps us understand what is their relationship, how they move. Okay. There could be some other reason. We don't know the reasons, right? But they move, right? If it is 1 means they move together. If it is 0 means they may be moving in any direction. Nobody knows. If it is negative means this goes up, this goes down. But in this case, it's delicately placed at 0.5, which means if it does move together, but not exactly to the extent. It may move together, it may not move, it may move opposite direction. It can happen. So it's a very interesting sweet spot. And to understand correlation, let me give you a quick analogy and example from real life. And that will help you understand this beautiful concept and how international funds can be used for our advantage. So when you look at this picture, what does this remind you? Which season is this? Obviously, summer. So summer is one variable, right? And ice cream sales is one variable. So what do you think? Are they positively correlated? Is it one, the correlation? Yes. Summers, summer seasons, when the summers are hot, ice cream sales go up. They're they're actually positively correlated. When the summers are gone, that means there is winter, the ice cream sales usually fall down, right? They are positively correlated. Now, what does this remind you? Which weather? Winter. It's snowing. So, when the winters are up, when the winters are cold, the coat sales or the warm wear sales go up. They are positively correlated, right? And actually, ice creams are negatively correlated to winter season. Same way, coats are negatively correlated to summer, right? But what if you're able to discover an ice cream where you can eat and enjoy during winter? How will you feel? What if you were the manufacturer of such an ice cream? You will never lose. You'll always gain, whether it is summer or whether it is winter, your ice cream sales will always go up. And that is the concept of diversification and asset allocation, especially when we think about international funds. And let me explain to you with a model portfolio, right? So here's the scenario. And this is the real market data. So if you see here in 2020, large cap gave 15.8%, mid cap minus 1.2, small cap 19.2, and the Nasdaq, Europe, and Asian Taiwan market especially. This is what it has given. And likewise, the other years. So if you see here, especially in this year, so the Indian markets have done better here. Here, the US markets have done, here they've done bad. Here they have done comparatively less than the Indian markets. Here, the Indian markets have done phenomenally well. Here, we have done weak. We've not done well, but here the other markets have done well. So now in this scenario, what do you do? And this is what is the beauty of diversification and asset allocation. So what we do here is, so we'll take two portfolios. One is purely Indian markets, which is 55, 25, 20. And here it is 65 Indian markets, and the rest is the international markets. And every year you invest 1 lakh in both portfolios. But in the mixed portfolio, which is called international exposure, you assign more proportion to weaker markets in that year, which means here, when you invest a lakh, you're obviously, you'll invest more in the Europe market, right? And more here and less to these. So wherever there is positive, you invest less, but wherever there is negative, you invest more. Same way here. So here, if you see, you are investing more in the US, in the international markets. Here also, you're investing more in the international markets. Here, you're investing again more in the international markets because they've done bad. Here, you're investing probably 50-50 here because both are equally good. But here, what you're doing is you're investing more in the Indian markets, right? So this is a simple thing. You don't have to do anything. You just have to invest. And whichever market is weak, you invest more. And the result is that, so this is the Indian only portfolio where the returns are 12.3 to 12.37, -1, 24, and minus. So this is what is the result. First year, it is 1.2. Second year, 2.9. Third year, 3.83, 6, and 7. Here, if you see, the returns are lower. Here, the returns are lower. Here, the returns are lower. Here, the returns are lower. That means your allocation is going more to this. And here, the returns go up. So in the end, your portfolio, Indian portfolio, only India portfolio is 7.13, whereas the international portfolio, that is a mixed portfolio, is given more. And it is simple because when the markets went up here, since you had allocated more here, the returns were more. And this is a very simple way to invest, which is, you can call it diversification, or the best term is asset allocation. So basically, what you're doing is you're investing more in the market, which is giving you less returns, so that in the end, basically, in the next 5 years or 10 years, you will see returns that are much higher, because that is what is the simple calculations. And that's why you should have exposure international. So what is the key takeaways here? Number one, diversification works over time. Despite short-term periods where it hurts, for example, 21, 22, the 5-year benefit is clear. Diversification into US and European and Asian equities smooths the returns, outperforming India only during global runs, protecting during flat Indian cycles and sometimes lagging in domestic years in 2021. Lower correlation helps. Lower correlation periods offer best diversification. High correlation periods reduce effectiveness, right? If there is high correlation, that means Indian market, US markets do well, European markets do well, Indian markets do well, or if they don't do well, everything falls. So there is no real benefit of diversification. And that's why I said, when it is not fully correlated, it's the sweet spot for any investment opportunity. And rebalancing is critical. Annual rebalancing captures the full benefit of diversification. Now, here we have not done the rebalancing, but what we have done is, is as if it is an accumulation phase, and every year you're investing, so you're allocating more to the market which has fallen. That is in a way rebalancing your investment amount. That is, the diversified model delivered the highest CAGR with lower volatility. International allocation, especially in US, Europe, Asian equities, balances the portfolio over time. And this is the beauty of uh, a mixed portfolio where you're assigning to assets that are not fully correlated. I hope I've been able to communicate this important fact to you. Honestly, there's a lot of learning for me. I do have, I have invested in two international funds, but I wish I had done more. I wish I had followed this, because this is as a result of my own analysis that I'm discovering this. And going forward, this is something that I'm going to adopt in my own portfolio. And finally, is it that simple? Are there any risks associated with investing internationally? Yes. And that's what we'll see in the last slide. There is a currency risk, because the benefit from international funds is when rupee depreciates. One is the markets doing well. Second is when the rupee depreciates. There also you gain. But what if rupee appreciates? You will lose your return. So that there's a currency risk here. Every time rupee is stronger and rupee gets stronger and stronger, you will stand to lose. That's the risk we have. Political, regulatory, and taxation risks. Yes, there could be political instability, regulatory changes, taxation changes, and all that can impact international funds exposure. There is an economic and geopolitical risk, right? Like the Israel and Hamas war, the Russia and Ukraine war. So all these things can impact. Sometimes they can impact more some countries and less to some countries. What if you have invested in markets where the geopolitical risk is very high? You will lose, and if it doesn't recover for many years, you'll have to wait for it to recover. So that is the risk. And finally, volatility and diversification risks. Now, all markets are not, all markets do not have the same volatility, right? The volatility, what is there in India, could be very different what is there in the US and the Europe and the Asian markets. So all these volatility differences, the risk that you're taking could be a risk. This volatility and diversification, this is the risk that we carry. That's why it is very important to find out your risk profile before you invest, because some of these, especially the US markets, the drawdowns can be much, much higher, like 30 to 40% down compared to India. India may not fall that much, or the other markets may fall a lot. For example, China, for many years now, it has not returned, it has not gone to its previous high. So these are all the risks that we carry when we invest in international funds. So I hope you understood the benefits of investing in the international markets. Now, at the start, we talked about what did we lose by not investing? Well, we haven't lost a lot, because our Indian markets have done much better. But if you had invested in the international markets, a small portion of 20 to 30%, your returns could have been better. Especially if you see now in 2025, India has done very poorly in the last 1 year. But the US markets, Europe markets, and the other Asian markets have done very well. So there you could have taken the benefit. Early years, they didn't do well. You could have invested more there. So overall, your portfolio could have been better. So that is what we have lost by not investing some portion of our money into these. So what is your decision after watching this? Do let me know in the comments. If you like it, if you like this video, didn't like this video, do let me know. And let me know in the comments, what is it that you understood and what is it that you found it hard? If you want me to explain it more and clarify, please let me know. And if you've not subscribed to this channel, you're new to this channel, if you think you've really got valuable information, please do subscribe. And please share your feedback on this video and all my other videos. Subscribe to my channel and like and forward if you think this will benefit somebody. See you.